Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming and taking the time on a Wednesday here. We're really excited. We have a really great webinar scheduled for today. I myself am very excited. I think we'll just wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes because it is 10:59 and we will start in maybe a couple minutes or so. But thanks Justin, Richard and Maharaja for joining me today. We were talking earlier in the broadcast, before the broadcast went live, and me and Justin are really cold in North America. In New Jersey, it's about 8 degrees. I think Justin, you said it's about the same in Minneapolis, right?
It is. I think it's 0 degrees right now, and not getting any warmer.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Richard and Maharaja are in great weather. I think actually Maharaja's in the greatest weather of them all. Back in you're in Chennai right now, right, Maharaja? Dubai, okay. So you're,
nice. And
yeah, and Richard in Florida is a little bit colder than usual, right?
For sure. 32 degrees here in Tampa. They had to shut down part of the interstate in northern Florida due to snow and ice. So.
For ice, wow.
Yeah.
And I think it was like snow also in parts of Florida, right?
Northern Florida got snow, correct? Northwest Florida.
Did you have any snow, or are you kind of?
No, just cold rain.
Cold rain. I feel like that's worse,
Right.
But yeah, I think it's 11:01 right now. I think we can continue. We can start off, and we see the attendees are piling in. But thank you for everybody again for making the time today. I know it's 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, and you could be other places, you could be doing work, but you're here with us, and we really thank you for that. A couple of notes before we begin. There is a Q&A session that's going to be at the end of the webinar, and we will be answering all your important questions, especially related to the Logility platform. There is a question box in the platform, and at any time, if you have any questions, any clarifying questions or comments, you can feel free to hit that line, and during the Q&A session, we'll make sure to get to all of those questions and how many ever we have time for. So please use that. We also have a little bit of an exciting offer that we will talk about at the end of the webinar as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. One last note is that this webinar is all being recorded, and we will share the recording to you at the email that you signed up for, as well as some exciting resources that will be available to you at the end of the session. And with that, I think we can start. First of all, I'd like to introduce the speakers for today. We're very pleased to have both Justin Wallace and Richard Troxel from the Logility team. Justin is the Regional Vice President of America's Logility, and Richard is going to actually walk us through a very exciting demo that I'm very excited for all of you to see. He's the Director of Solutions Consulting at America's Logility. So thank you two for joining and making the time today. And from our side, from Korcomptenz, we have me, Rohan. I'm a business consultant here at Korcomptenz, among other things. And we also have Maharaja, who is a project manager at Korcomptenz, who will also talk a little bit about our experience in the sector. And we're very excited for all of us to be here and to get started. So a little bit about us, Korcomptenz, right off the bat. We have over 20 years of experience and proven expertise across industries. We have done more than 500 successful projects. Our specialization, we kind of tried to position ourselves as a global technology solutions provider, a digital transformation partner, and also an end-to-end solution provider. We kind of have a very customer-first approach that is backed by design methodology, and we have multiple solution offerings across ERP, CRM, cloud solutions, and advanced analytics. You can see a couple of our customers here on the slide, including the largest flooring manufacturer, the leading luxury jewelry brand, and the leading fast food company in the world, among others. And as you can see, we have a global presence that kind of helps us service our customers to the best of our abilities. And we're very excited to kind of tell you a little bit more about us, and also to see if we can kind of help you a little bit more on your journey. Speaking of our journey, we kind of bucket our services into these 3 different buckets, which is engage, enable, and accelerate. So engage is all about kind of your front-end technologies, so everything related to customer engagement, whether it be your e-commerce, your web content management, mobile apps, CRM, so far and so forth. And what we try to do is kind of provide you with a 360-degree view of your customers. And having that view, we help you we help you enable them. The enable box is kind of about getting a lot of operational excellence and bringing that to the next level. So we try to improve your business functions by scaling it up and out. This can be something about like implementing an ERP, your infrastructure management, your cloud management, and for all this we do implementation. We also do supports, and we also do audits, just to make sure that we enable your business functions to go smoothly. The last bucket we call accelerate, and accelerate is all about the kind of current technological trends. So this is your kind of interesting stuff like your artificial intelligence, AI, ML, machine learning. We also try to kind of help you use your data, your business data, to accelerate your growth. And also speaking of that, when it comes to kind of leveraging the cloud to access the full capabilities of, your Internet of Things, and as we said before, your artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics. So this was just a little bit about core competence. Now I'd like to kind of invite Maharaja to dive a little bit deeper into our delivery into our demand planning capabilities. So Maharaja, you can take it away.
Quite an array of services that Core offers. Let's talk a little bit about how Core Competence delivers efficient and reliant demand planning. Core leverages technology and business application to deliver resilient supply chains. We partner with industry leaders. We have been working with Microsoft for quite some time. We are a certified solution provider from Microsoft. We also work with SAP. Logility plays an important role in bridging gaps where we see in traditional ERP. We take a holistic approach when we work with customers and look at their key problem areas in the supply chain. We adopt an approach to identify their pain points, their challenges, and come up with recommendations and solutions. And we always emphasize on AI-first technology. This ensures that we meet our customer requirements and strategic goals. We also assist our customers when it comes to inventory planning, when it comes to demand and supply chain planning, to ensure that they meet and maintain an adequate service levels. We implement warehouse management supply chain solutions and also transport management service systems. We also integrate last mile carrier services for our customers. We have designed and automated production order processes along with integration of machine capabilities and IoT services across our implementations. We ensure we provide our customers with an optimized supply chain. We provide best-in-class analytic services, and we also ensure we leverage technology at every block in the supply chain journey. We'd like to move on and talk a little bit about our customer service and customer success journey. We have worked with enterprise customers across North America, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. Our domain and our expertise spans across the manufacturing, distribution, FMCG, and e-commerce sectors. We always optimize the whole supply chain or parts of it based on our customer requirements. In the past, we have partnered with a Canadian company who wanted to get into Industry 4.0 journey. We implemented IoT services, MES capabilities, and robotic automation to ensure they are fully automated in their warehouse processes and also their shop floor. We boosted their efficiency and ensuring that they are also one of the first 3 in Industry 4.1 compliant companies. We work with an outdoor manufacturing company who specializes in different types of equipments. They had a problem with running their MRP in their legacy system. So what we solution for them is integrated with the microservice-based architecture, which ensure the daily planning runs smoothly without any issues to their existing infrastructure. We also work with companies who needed automation in the production order process, a scan-based automation. We delivered impactful transformation and ensure that the traceability within the production process is managed. This resulted in about 40% cost savings for them with optimizing their resources and ensuring that they have traceability throughout the processes. We have implemented world-class warehouse management systems where we have employed best-in-class pick and push strategies. We have also helped them with consolidation. We have helped them with their same-day shipments. Our consultants always look at a customer-first approach. So with all this, just in a summary, we'd say we have helped our customers with 70% reduction in any planning-related delays. We have also automated and set up advanced warehouse management systems and ensured we provide value throughout the supply chain value chain. With this, I would like to hand it over to Rohan to the next part of the webinar.
Thanks, Maharaja. So now I'd just like to give it over to Justin Wallace from Logility, who's going to run us through some of the evolution of demand planning, and then also give us some insight into how AI is not just a buzzword in this company, but how they're actually leveraging it for the better. So Justin.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rohan. I'm excited to be with everybody today. As Rohan introduced, my name is Justin Wallace. I run both of our Americas teams, North and South and Central America, within Logility from a sales capacity. Wanted to kind of start with just giving some overview of who we are as a company for anybody that might not be familiar with who Logility is. First of all, we take a lot of pride in being a Magic Quadrant leader in the eyes of Gartner today. Some of the highest marks that we've gotten for leaders in the Magic Quadrant are around our AI vision, not just what we can deliver upon today, but also our roadmap for the future. It includes not just the technology, but a lot of the changing in the processes that companies are going to be going through in order to leverage the technology, because it is very different than times of the past that a lot of companies out there in the market today are still utilizing as far as business process and technology are concerned. So obviously, what we'll be going through in more detail is around the demand planning portion, but just to give you guys a little bit of understanding of what the platform consists of as a whole when you think of end-to-end supply chain planning. When you think about a one-number plan, it really starts with what we're focused on today, which is a really strong and accurate demand plan, then correlating that into other areas of the supply chain in order to have those metrics whittle their way downstream. So focusing on inventory and supply planning, all the way through some more robust futuristic technology such as intelligent order response, some different S&OP process tools and workflow tools that can really help establish best-in-class processes within your business flows today. So really, Logility has the capabilities to augment any and all gap capabilities within your ERP system to really give you that best-in-class supply chain planning and ultimately the results and value that come from having a more accurate supply chain inventory strategy as a company. So where we're going to get started today is for level setting with everybody. The idea is to get this into your hands as practical as possible. Help open your mind to how things are changing, even without you potentially seeing it on a regular basis in your practical lives. The hope is to tie together some easy strings between what you might experience on a daily to what we're seeing in the supply chain planning space, and have that all marry up at the end in the form of a demonstration with Richard at the back end of this process. So again, just to kind of put us into context, one thing that's really evident and easy to understand is how artificial has impacted you or people in a practical nature today. So think, for example, open your mind to 1984. You're a truck driver that has 3 different stops within your daily route tree to get the product to where it needs to go. In 1984, if you were going to assess or move that product from one location to another, you typically started with a paper map, right? That paper map required a whole lot of tribal knowledge applied over the top of that map in order to make those 3 stops efficiently. It took nothing into account that might be happening in the here and now. So obviously traffic and weather reporting, it took different sources in order for you to find what was happening on a daily basis. There was no ability to find different shortcuts or things that would save you time ultimately no tools out there that would provide route optimization more than tribal knowledge and being able to apply the experience that you have as a truck driver in that world. Same thing as if there was road closures, if there was accidents, things that were affecting your trip or the overall ability for you to execute on your trip. All those things were going to be affected, and no ability to be flexible, efficient on the fly. Ultimately, those things cause huge impacts on the supply chain. The same thing could be said for you as an individual driver. You got to places less easily, people will get lost more often. A lot of technology has helped augment that gap today. Well, the same thing has happened very much in the demand planning world. The 1984 example was there for a reason. That reason is because it was the same year that Focus Forecasting, the book that is the big reliance on single pick algorithms and the basis for a lot of our competitors' demand planning solutions and processes today, was established from a 1984 book on technology and process control within your demand planning and forecasting area. What that's led to from a demand planning standpoint is that there's tons of manual processes that have happened and rolled out between 1984 and today in 2025 to help augment a lot of the reporting capabilities or ways that companies do business. A lot of companies that have this type of solution still utilize Excel files and other things that ultimately lead to inefficiencies, they lead to silos. It looks at what did happen, so it's constantly looking at the rearview mirror of what happened in the past and trying to match a single pick algorithm to what's going to happen in the future, which led to large amounts of inaccuracies and forecast error. And ultimately, it means that those silos are turning into multiple different versions of the truth for different organizations. So if you're in the sales department versus someone in marketing versus somebody that's in the demand planning or supply planning role, you'll see the world differently. You're ultimately working off of different types of spreadsheet views in order to apply best guesses and ultimately looking at statistical models as a baseline and overriding that statistical model with your best hypothesis of what actually is going to happen in the future. So what that's led to, again, is a lot of final consensus forecasts being in the form of guesses that then were rooted in a lot of different inaccuracies for a variety of different reasons. When you look at that as an entire market challenge, so a lot of the hype cycles from Gartner or McKinsey, other different reputable third-party sources, obviously the biggest challenges that they've laid out are things that you could recognize within your own company, I'm sure, today. Complexity within demand planning has taken a turn since the world of omnichannel has come to present. Being able to manage different sales channels, different customer profiles, the complexity of demand planning and the complexity of data information has become extremely robust. So companies need to have a strategy of how do they silence a lot of that noise? How do they make this complexity simple to use for the people that are planning their business, but also leverage as much data as possible to give them the best chance to be accurate with their forecasting and thus a lot of their inventory statistics as well. Systems, teams, and data sit in silos. That's probably a challenge that the world will never completely solve for, but there's ways that we can initiate a better collaboration process. How do we get away from different teams planning their own forecast and applying it at the end? How do we get them to work together and have that data that maybe sits from team to team into one location where it can actually help fuel a better forecast from the information that we have available? Same thing with uncertainty. Uncertainty is always going to exist, just like silos probably will within organizations. Demand planning processes, the best ones out there in the market are somewhere between 80 to 90% accurate with their demand plans. You're never going to get to 100% accurate forecast because of uncertainty that exists, not just within demand planning, but the market as a whole. How do we work to mitigate that? How do we give you tools in order to calm a lot of the noise that you might have out there and make this a lot more easy and seamless for you to understand? And lastly, the workforce in 2025 is very different. If you think about millennials turned Gen Zers, the way that they interact with technology is very different than generations of the past. They expect to be able to have visual information. They expect to be able to use the data that they have available to them. So again, how do we tee up that workforce to be more productive, be value adding to our business, that's the challenge that we have in the market, and the challenge for us as a vendor of software applications to work on enabling the clients that we work with to be as efficient as possible and help them retain their employees and their talented workforce in a way that allows them to see better results throughout their supply chain. So again, artificial intelligence is something that some companies are scared of, but the general consensus for everybody is that artificial intelligence is changing the world for the better. There's a lot of ways that we can hopefully kind of change your mind if you're hesitant in adopting artificial intelligence, because of, again, the great impact that it can have on both the practical nature of your daily life, as well as the role of a demand planner in this new world of planning. So think about that same example that I talked about with the truck driver in 1984. If you think about that truck driver leaving the loading dock in 2025, they have artificial intelligence at their fingertips that allows them to do a lot more and a lot more efficient processes than what they were doing back 25, 30 years ago. A system like Waze or Google Maps, you may not think about it, but artificial intelligence is working in the background to constantly look at a better way of getting you from point A to point B. It's looking at optimizing your route. It's looking at shortcuts. It's looking to navigate you around other information that it encounters along your path. It may provide you real-time alerts, gives you the information at the right point in time of your journey, not just giving you a bunch of information that's not relevant. It's giving you the right information at the right time. It's using all the data available to it. And one of the other really cool things is it allows you to collaborate with other people that are on the road. So they can apply events, they can apply data that ultimately has an impact on your route. You can see how fast traffic is moving ahead of you. It takes that into account as the artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms are now looking for better ways to get you from point A to point B. That's very, very similar to what we're going to be talking about and walking you through today, is how does supply chain artificial intelligence actually impact you as a business. But we're going to be focused on two different kind of core areas as we walk through the presentation today. We're going to be focused on the first and foremost what we call background artificial intelligence. So this is going to be the stuff that you don't necessarily see as a planner on a regular basis. These are going to be the ways that machine learning and artificial intelligence are benefiting you, but it's hard to see from a planner's point of view. The role of the planner will not be affected so much by background artificial intelligence. If you think about background artificial intelligence, a lot of this, I think, very similarly to a streaming service. So if you log into a streaming service today and you get recommendations of, like different videos and content based on attributes of things that you've previously watched or rated, all those things show up for you on your streaming service based on background artificial intelligence that's taking place within those platforms today. And it's just providing you with the information at the front and center of your screen, very similar to what background artificial intelligence in supply chain planning does as well. Interactive AI, that's really how the role of the planner is going to be changed. It's going to change the way that we collaborate. It's going to change the way that we ultimately do our roles on a daily basis inside of a supply chain planning solution. So we're going to spend some time going through, from a planner's perspective, really looking at some of the different ways that they're going to actually work with artificial intelligence inside of the platform. One of those areas being very similar to what you might experience when you think of artificial intelligence, which is generative AI or large language models, which a lot of people correlate to a system like ChatGPT, or from a voice standpoint, think about a system like Alexa. The journey of Alexa, if you would have used Alexa about 5 years ago, Alexa could tell you the weather. It might tell you how long it takes you to get from point A to point B on a simple map application. Today, Alexa can do all of your Christmas shopping for your 3-year-old. I know this from experience, but they can put everything that's the latest and greatest toys, entertainment, etc., into your shopping cart on Amazon and actually prepare you for an order. So the evolution of Alexa is very similar to the continuous evolution of things within interactive AI. So what we're going to focus on as I hand it over to Richard to get us into some of the technical application of these components, we're going to focus first and foremost on what we call ensemble forecasting. That's a very big differentiator in the space of artificial intelligence, as opposed to that single pick algorithm that we had talked about previously. And then we're also going to take what we call outlier detection and morph that into what we have in interactive AI in the form of what we call training opportunities and events. That's where we actually identify where there's been history that doesn't make sense to the system, based on what doesn't make sense to the system. It's ultimately going to provide the user with opportunities to explain that future, and then ultimately ability to provide future-looking events so that that history that's been trained turns into actual impact on the forecasting volumes going forward into the future. And lastly, we're going to really focus on some of the buzz, which is generative AI. How do we query the system? How do we talk to the system? How do we get important bits of information out of the system today? So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Richard and take us through the first steps of the content.
Okay, thank you, Justin. We'll start to dive into how Logility is bringing AI into not only supply chain planning, but specifically into demand planning. And we'll start with what's referred to as an ensemble forecast. Now, traditional systems, demand planning solutions all leverage a best fit forecast calculation process. And in that process, what happens is there's a forecasting engine, and that forecasting engine will test any number of formulas that it has available to it, 10, 15, 20 formulas. And for each item that it's forecasting, it will pick the formula that does the best job of recreating what has happened with the history that's been loaded. And that's the way that forecasts have been created for 30, 40 years, as Justin was saying. What Logility is doing, and what we have done, is we have innovated not only around the demand planning process, but around the calculation of the forecast. And what we're now doing is an ensemble forecast. And what that means to you is, rather than picking a single formula to forecast an item, you see illustrated in the chart here in the center of the slide, what we're doing is we're blending different forecast methods together in different ratios across your forecast horizon. So we've got formulas in the engine that pick up very easily on seasonality, some that are geared towards trend. We've got some basic formulas like a naive forecast. You've got triple exponential smoothing formula, Holt Winters, and you've also got some machine learning algorithms. And what our forecasting engine is doing is it's running the forecast, it's testing the forecast with each of those formulas, and then it's blending those results together in those different ratios. So you may end up with a formula that's dominating the forecast for the first several weeks because it's picking up on seasonality or picking up on a trend, and you also may have one that's focused more on a machine learning algorithm. So there's nothing that the planner has to do with regards to tuning the forecast algorithms, tuning the forecast parameters. They simply let that forecast engine run. It creates the appropriate blend of those forecasting methods together to generate a more accurate baseline starting point forecast. With the addition of those machine learning algorithms into the process, what you typically find is that there's a need for a data science team to retune those machine learning algorithms over time, to come back and make sure that they are tuned to the business, the changes in the business that have occurred since they were implemented. What you'll see as we go through the presentation today is that Logility is self-tuning those algorithms based on the insights that the demand planners and the collaborators are providing to the engine. So as it's learning about your business, it's learning about your the patterns in your sales, the solution is always also using the insights that you're providing to tune those algorithms, so there's no need for data scientists. What the algorithms and what the engine will also do is automatically find outliers in that sales history. Planners traditionally have spent a lot of time going back and cleaning up the sales history, trying to adjust the number to where they think it should have been, to account for supply bottlenecks, to account for promotions that they didn't know about, to account for new product introductions that they didn't know about. What they'll have the ability to do now is go to the solution and have the solution tell them where it needs their input. Through the easy to use interface, they'll be able to give natural language results or insight into what caused that outlier, and that will again provide learning for the solution to continue to learn about the business. We'll also be able to pull out and adjust for promotions, and cannibalization, other events that might affect the sales. And the Logility solution is also going to provide something that planners have been looking for the 20 years at least that I've been doing demand planning and working in supply chain, and that is the components of demand. Planners have historically had to work with just a sales number, a history number, and a forecast number, and they've wanted to know how much of those sales were baseline, repeatable sales that we can count on occurring over and over and over. How much of those sales are What's the impact of seasonality? What's the impact of a trend? Is there a positive or negative trend for these items? And what's happening with promotions or events or new product introductions? So all these pieces that go into the sales, that go into the inside of the business, planners have been looking for, and Logility is now able to provide that information and that data to them. There's a lot of information available about Ensemble Forecasting, about why it's better, it's more accurate than the traditional best fit forecasting process. You see, you can go as simply as asking a question to Copilot to understand what's the difference and what's better about an Ensemble forecast. And if you go through the Logility website, you'll also find some blog posts that we have explaining why Ensemble Forecasting is the natural evolution and innovation around forecasting and why it's going to provide you with that better forecast. Some terms that Justin introduced to you will show you what they mean in the solution. I want to give you a little bit of a deeper definition of those. We talked about training opportunities. A training opportunity is where the planner is starting to teach Logility about your customers and about your products. This is the result of that automatic outlier detection that I mentioned. The solution goes out, looks for outliers, looks for where adjustments are needed potentially to the historical sales, highlights those to the planner, and then the planner can come in and apply insights to those to explain what's going on. This is the starting point for training those algorithms and for teaching the solution so that it can pull out what is your baseline, what is your seasonality, what are the trends and promotions. These training opportunities can also be resolved through data. So if we have visibility to historical out of stocks, if you've got visibility to historical price changes or a promotion or an event or trade show calendar, that kind of data can be brought in as events that the engine will then link up to those outliers that it finds in the sales and resolve those training opportunities for the planner. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a manual process, and it doesn't have to be down to the SKU level. We're typically resolving these training opportunities at higher levels of aggregation. Events are the terms that we use for the insights that are added to the demand plan, both from a training opportunity for history standpoint, as well as for future changes to the forecast or future changes to the demand. So an event is another way that the planners are going to be teaching Logility about your customers and about your products. They're the everyday events that occur that change your sales. So things like promotions, price changes, buy one, get one free, end caps that your customers may be filling with your product and boosting your sales. Events are also utilized for things like supply bottlenecks, things like COVID, for example. So if you had a large dip or change in your sales during the COVID lockdown period, we can explain that to the engine, and so it can know to pull that data out, those sales out, and not include that as part of your baseline sales. Even things like competitor activity. So if you know something that your competitor is doing, or if one of your customers knows something that one of their competitors is doing that is going to impact your sales, like they have a new product launch or they have a price change, that kind of information, again, is useful to the solution so that it can better understand your business and better understand your sales. And we don't have them this time of year, but natural events like hurricanes down here in Florida, those obviously impact the sales for different industries, both positively and negatively. So those types of events can be explained in the solution as well to, again, further educate the forecasting engine. So with that little bit of background, we'll go into the solution, orient you to what you're seeing here. We're not going to go through a full training and implementation class here, but we do want to give you a feel for how Logility is evolving demand planning and what this might look like. So what you're seeing in this workbench, this is where planners typically will work with that demand plan, with that sales history. Over on the left-hand side, you see 3 different hierarchy areas: product, location, and customer. These are going to be populated with the attributes that make sense to your business. You see we've got some in here for demonstration purposes, like product classification, brand, the item number, model, ABC classification. So if you're doing ABC on volume or velocity or other things, you can bring that classification, that attribute into the workbench in order to filter out the data that you want to see. So as we select something in product group, we add that. Now you see the data changes to reflect just that product group 1 that we chose. There's also location-based attributes. So where are you shipping the product from, which distribution center or warehouse, even to the level of where are you sourcing the product? Is it your own plant? Is it supplier 1 versus supplier 2? And that information is useful again, because if you do have supply bottlenecks and you happen to change suppliers, or if you have distribution issues and you change where you're shipping the product from, we want to make sure that the solution knows about that, so that it no longer applies those changes in sales, those drops in sales that happen maybe to an out of stock or to a supplier issue, to that new supplier. So again, more education for the engine so that it knows more and more and learns more and more about your business. So from a location standpoint, you've got things like what type of location is it, what country is it in, what region is it in, so you can assign the appropriate attributes there. And then the same thing for the customer. Typically, best practice says you're going to forecast by key customer, not for all customers. So we want to make sure that you've got the appropriate customers in there, maybe break it out by different channels. Justin mentioned omni-channel being more and more prevalent across companies these days, so making sure that you've got the appropriate forecast for those right channels. Even going down again to the region, country, maybe even the sales team, sales manager that's responsible for the account or for those accounts. So once you've got your appropriate filters, you'll see the data is presented both graphically as well as in a tabular format. We'll take just a minute to look at the graph and show you the information, the insight that the solution can give you. So we'll take all these different data points out of here. You can roll the data up to different buckets. We'll start in monthly buckets to make it a little easier to read. You see your historical sales across whatever horizon you define, and you see the forecast that the solution has generated. What you can also see in the graph is the baseline. So what are your baseline sales? What can you expect to sell period over period as your baseline? What is the trend that the solution has picked up on? So is there a positive or negative trend for this product family, for this customer, for this region? Being able to see that data, and then also being able to see what is the impact of seasonality on your sales in history, and what is the impact of seasonality going forward out into the forecast. So very easy to start to see some explanation for why is your baseline here, but your actual sales are up here. You can see that seasonality does have some influence there. You can even draw down and see things like promotions. So where do you have events, price changes, buy one, get one free, things that have happened in the past and things that are planned to happen in the future that are going to impact your sales, as well as things like events, trade shows, flus, supply bottlenecks. Those types of events are also going to come into play with regards to analyzing and managing your demand plan. Now, for those of you that like to see the data in a tabular format, you've got the ability to work at any level of aggregation that you want. To keep things simple, we're going to roll things up to a channel level, and then we'll roll them up to a brand level. We'll keep things by location, but we definitely want to be able to see what are the different components that go into this demand. So as you choose confirm there, you'll see that the solution will then reload your grid, showing you the data at the appropriate levels of aggregation that you've got. Anything in green is your history. Anything that's in this darker color is your forecast. And anything that is shaded shows you where there has been a change made to that forecast. Someone has come in and applied a change to that forecast. But the key here is that you can then open up the details and see for your forecast, for your history, what are your baseline sales? How much of your sales being impacted by a trend that the solution has picked up on, as well as seasonality, promotions, and events. You can see, for example, in this case, someone has gone in and added an event to the environment to increase that forecast by 80 units, 80 cases, depending on whatever the unit of measure is that we're working on here. So you've got the ability to view the data in tabular format. You've got the ability to view the data in graphical format. You can change the time buckets that you're seeing. As we go down to the lowest level of granularity, which in this case is weekly, you'll see that some colors, some red colors are showing up within the graph. What this is showing you is this is a training opportunity. So the solution has gone out, it's learned about this demo environment that we're working in, and it's asking the planner to explain why were there 6,363 more units of sales than were expected during this time period. So the planners can access those training opportunities through the graph. They can also use the status engine to get a complete list of all training opportunities. to sort them by impacted units, to sort them by any number of attributes that they may want to see. And if we want to adjust our choice here, we'll choose a different group to work with. So let's come all the way down. Let's choose group 18. Let's uncheck group 1. You can choose multiple, and you'll see that we've got different types of training events. So there's a peak in sales, there's a trough in sales, there's points, there's ranges that are associated with it, and you can see the level of detail at which this applies. So all the planner has to then do is come in, choose to resolve that training opportunity. It'll point them directly to it in the graph. It shows them exactly which SKUs, which customers, which locations are going to be impacted, what the impact is going to be on those different entities when they resolve this training opportunity. One of the options they have is to say this is not an outlier. They can say that this is part of the sales and the solution will move on and learn from that. The other option is to come in and say, explain what happened here. So since we're looking at a drop in sales, we could say that this maybe was a response to a supply bottleneck. We'll add a new event. We'll say that this was due to a raw material shortage. And we'll say that it was due to, we'll tag it as electronic chips, for example. So we had a problem with our chip supplier. That caused us to be out of stock and not able to have as much product as we needed, so our sales dropped. So we can explain that, add that insight into the system, and the solution will now learn from that. With regards to making adjustments from a forecast or a future standpoint, that's where we can leverage the Events tab. We're going to sum this up into monthly buckets again to make it a little bit easier. You see you've got the same kind of layout. You've got a tabular view at the bottom, a graphical view at the top. We'll put our filter back on. We'll come back and look at group 1 here. And what you're now seeing is a representation of where are their events and what type of events have been added to both history and to forecast to show why there have been or could be changes to the forecast in the future. So you see competitor activities, customer dynamics, as well as supply bottlenecks. All those different types of events are reflected in this graph. Some folks find it easier to work in the tabular view. You can filter this. So let's say that you've gotten some insight from your customer or from your sales team. You know something is coming up, so you want to come in and apply that to the forecast. We'll filter that based on just promotions, and we'll hide our filters. And now you can see the different types of promotions that are layered in. And you can expand the details and see each promotion that has been added, each event that has been added, which items, which customers, which locations did it impact, which dates did it occur or is it planned to occur, and what was the impact on the sales? Did it have a high impact, a low impact, or a medium level impact? So the solution is not only learning the types of events that you're managing, but it's showing you and learning what type of impact they have on your sales. When you're ready to adjust your forecast, rather than changing the number, you can come in and add a new event. And so let's say that this is our spring price reduction, and we'll say that this is going to be on consumer electronics. So you can add attributes to further explain what type of event you're doing. You would then come in and choose the appropriate product, customer, and location attributes that you want, where you want to apply this event, and also choose the date. One of the things that you'll notice is that nowhere is the planner being asked for a forecast number. They're not being asked to say, what effect do you think this event is going to have on the forecast? The solution can go back and we'll look at all the history of those same types of events, and we'll apply the appropriate adjustment to the forecast based on what the planner enters here. So they no longer have to do research each time an event happens to figure out what they think, how they think it might impact the forecast. They can simply come in, add their event, and move on from there. We're going to discard this change. And where we're going to end our solution presentation today is to show you how Logility is leveraging generative AI capabilities. So the natural language interface, where rather than using dashboards, rather than using reports to find out information about your business, the planners can simply come in, and even casual users can come in and simply ask a natural language question. So if we say, what is the forecast for April 2025 for finished goods? But let's say we want a little more information. We want to see that by week, and you want to see that with components, with the different components of the demand. So in the past, planners would have to go maybe export data out to spreadsheets to get this information. They may have a dashboard, they may have a report that they can adjust, or they may even have to put a ticket in to get a report created, but they probably wouldn't be able to get these components of demand. What the generative AI is going to do is it's going to first tell you exactly what it asked the system. So it took your question, converted it into something that the data warehouse could understand. So this is a way that you can confirm that it's returning exactly what you asked for. It will then give you the information that you looked for. So what is the forecast for April 2025? Here's the weekly breakdown, and here's the breakdown of those different components that go into that or make up that forecast. And then we'll also give you some observations, some learning, some things that it noticed about the data, about the information that you asked for. So the trend forecast is negative for all weeks, indicating a consistent downward trend in demand. The other forecast component does not contribute to any changes in the forecast for any of the weeks. So the planners are now not only getting the information that they asked for, they're getting additional insights. They're getting additional information about their business that can help them moving forward. You can also see the data and change the type of graph that you're seeing with the data as well. So from here, planners could go in and they could refine this question, drill down for more detail. They could throw these results away and start asking different questions depending on what they're looking to get. So a bit of a brief walkthrough in how Logility is leveraging AI within our solution. We also want to give you some insight into where we're going with not only generative AI, but with the AI technology as a whole. Where we are now, what we've deployed, what you've seen so far, we're leveraging generative AI to provide insights, to let the planners in conversational language ask a question, get results back. Where we're going from there, what's on our roadmap, and the next stage of our AI roadmap is to add even more efficiency into the process. So rather than, as I went in and added an event or resolved a training opportunity manually through the user interface, we are working to let the system do those tasks for the planner. So add a promotion for this customer for this time period of this type. Just type that in as you would a question, and the system can go out and apply that to the data. Where we go from there is allowing you to set guardrails or fences around the AI and let it be more prescriptive, where it's going out and it's looking for issues. So what used to be alerts or exceptions, red, yellow, green type traffic light views where you saw maybe forecast error or changes in sales, you can define those guardrails, and the system can then come back, just like the training opportunities, and direct you to where you need to go to resolve issues and to do your analysis. And then the final stage of where we're going with generative AI is around making it more autonomous, again within guardrails that you would provide, letting the system resolve issues for you where you allow it to, and letting the planners focus on those items that are outside of those thresholds. So Justin, with that, we'll turn control back over to you.
Thank you very much. So just kind of put a bow again on the Logility sections today. One of the things that our clients trust us with is a core problem necessary, just like as Henry Ford was famously quoted, if I would ask people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Obviously, there's different ways of solving problems. What companies want to see is a more efficient S&OP process that includes the demand being more accurate. Logility is uniquely positioned to use our experience, our knowledge. Richard mentioned it. He's got 20+ years of experience that's very similar to a lot of the people on our development staff as well. And it's very evident in our client base today of where artificial intelligence is being asked for and deployed to great success. So just to call out two very quickly, Ashley Furniture, one of the largest furniture retailers in North America today, their CEO, Todd Wanek, famously came out last fall and did an article where he related artificial intelligence and the importance of it to Fire to the Caveman. He believes there's going to be two types of companies in the future, one that has an artificial intelligence strategy and a second that's out of business because they've lagged behind. They didn't think about how this could impact business metrics and results of companies by leveraging this. It's very similar to our flagship client, Peet's Coffee, known as JDE in the EMEA market. Peet's Coffee was an early adopter of this AI-first demand planning processing technology. They themselves came from a solution that was very much a single pick algorithm previous approach that we've replaced with this new AI first forecasting model. And basically by turning on the system, they saw an improvement of 32% in their forecast accuracy. And they've gone from middle of the road to best in class for the coffee industry, pushing it all the way up to around 85% accuracy. And doing so by cutting the demand planning process down by from 8 weeks to 2 weeks, so about 70% of workforce efficiency improvement from adopting this type of technology that Richard just walked us. So with that, I'll invite Rohan back on to give us some summary of the session today.
Great. Thank you, Justin, and especially thank you, Richard, also for taking us through that demo. A little, just to put a bow on it, some key takeaways about what we talked about today. One thing I really wanted to understate is that demand planning is as critical today as in 2025 as it was in 1984, even though the world has changed so much. Demand planning is still very critical in business operations to perform at the highest level. And one way to do that, I think, is, as we made clear today, is to integrate AI into your demand planning. AI is not just a buzzword, even though every company that is launching and in business today likes to talk about it. But AI is very critical, I think, to revolutionizing demand forecasting and planning, as Justin and Richard have shown us today. And that Henry Ford quote in particular, I think, rings really true. And also from Ashley Furniture, the example that Justin gave, you have to integrate AI into your company because it is changing the world for the better. And if you don't, unfortunately, you might be like some of those cavemen. But that's why both Logility and Korcomptenz is here to support you in AI implementation. We kind of ran you through some insights from AI implementation, not only in Pete's Coffee, like Justin went through, but as you can see, there's a lot of value in integrating AI into your data in your company because it has all those things like, you can take into account seasonality, trends, the events that happen. And as you can see from Richard's presentation, the AI actually constantly recalculates all these data points to make sure that things go smoothly and continue to go smoothly in the future. We also saw AI tools in action in Richard's demo. And like I said before, you could see the impact of seasonality. You can see the impact of trends, promotions, events, even supply bottlenecks. And one thing I think is really cool is that especially Logility's platform, it visualizes all this data into an easy to understand platform. And you can gain insights both from the past and you can look at those data points to also forecast and plan for the future with the use of generative AI. We also gave you some best practices for integrating AI into your demand planning processes, because one thing that we do have in 2025, all businesses, no matter the industry, has a wealth of data. And it's important not to just sit on this data and hoard it, but to also put it to good use. And I think AI really enables that. Finally, we kind of provided you with some future trends so you can stay ahead in the evolving landscape of AI and demand planning. In particular, I think that generative AI roadmap that Richard walked us through with going from insights to efficiency, prescriptive, and then ultimately in the future, it will be autonomous, I think is very exciting. So those were kind of some key takeaways that we had from the webinar. Now I'd like to invite Maharaja to kind of run us through this special offer that we're offering. So Maharaja, you can take it away.
Rohan, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Richard. It was indeed a great webinar. I hope the session has been very helpful to the people who have joined this webinar. For the next 2 weeks, we are running a free assessment that will be done by our team. So this is a special offer for the ones who have joined the webinar today. If you feel any of the challenges and use cases that we demonstrated resonate with you, I think we are simply looking to optimize the supply chain. So do sign up on this offer. This would be with a detailed discovery session, and we would identify areas for optimization. We would demonstrate solutions and set up clear business impact areas. Our solution architects will evaluate your supply chain key pain areas and access the needs for your demand planning. We'll also draw out an entire supply chain roadmap which will help in optimizing your supply chain. So thank you for joining. Over to you now.
Great. So we do have time for a couple of questions. I don't think we'll have time to get to all of them, but rest assured, if you have a question and will go answered, we might just reach out to you over email to get that question answered for you. But we'll try to get through as much as we can right now. One thing, a concern that one person had, and the question that she posed was, does Logility's AI platform expose our data to other companies? And how does Logility secure our data while using AI? Justin, I think you can take this.
Yeah, I can take that for sure. So obviously that's probably one of the biggest objections, one of the biggest hesitancies that we see with both our current clients and prospective clients with using artificial intelligence today. Obviously we are very sensitive to client data. We wouldn't be in business for over 50 years if we weren't. One of the ways that we help control that is that we only deploy our artificial intelligence proprietary solution within the database that you all have hosted within the Logility database network, hosted within Azure specifically. So what we do is, again, only look at your data to answer the questions or queries that we ask of the system. There's no ability for companies to come in and look at data that you have. That information isn't flowing out to other large language models for other companies to use. All of the queries, all of the information lives in a very highly protected and secure data warehouse, very similar to what companies operate within a normal planning process today. So hopefully we've helped mitigate that concern. Obviously, we've got other documentation and things that we can walk through with clients and prospective clients individually to help make sure that that doesn't become an obstacle for adopting artificial intelligence.
Great. And one other question that we had here was somebody wanted to know, what are the key factors that affect demand forecasting accuracy? Maybe Maharaja and Richard, if you had some insight on that, you could answer that.
I would like to take that. Thank you, Rohan. So I think the key factors would be data quality. I think when you do supply chain planning, I think incomplete or inaccurate data can lead to incorrect forecasts. One of the other factor would be market fluctuations. I think with macro and microeconomy and other customer preferences related entrants, you can have issues with your planning. One more outliner would be the seasonality, and if there is promotions, marketing activities during the period, this could be also one of the key factors. And the last one I would say is supply chain constraints that might limit the ability to meet forecast and forecast your demand properly.
Great. And Richard, if you had anything to add, wondering?
That was a very complete answer, so nothing really to add other than visibility to what's happening out in the supply chain. Like Maharaja said, that's one of the key issues that companies deal with is their customers are doing things that they don't know about that are impacting their sales, and the more information you can get, the more accurate your forecast is going to be.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. There is a couple of questions that are remaining, but we will reach out to you through email. And I'd just like to take, again, this opportunity to thank everybody, to thank our panelists, Justin, Richard, and Maharaja for taking the time today, and also everybody at home who's watching. A couple of just notes. If you want to engage with us or with Logility as well, please contact sales@korcomptenz.com for a one-on-one demonstration of Demand AI Plus. Also to make use of that free offer that will be expiring on February 10th. Also, please follow Korcomptenz and Logility on LinkedIn. I think we have some good content on both the sites that kind of try to inform us on the latest trends and insights related not only to demand planning, but also on other topics. And as a final thing, also, if you go to Logility's website, they're hosting a really cool event called Vision 25 in March. And I've heard from both Justin and Richard that some pretty interesting speakers are also going to be in attendance, and I think it'll be a great event. So thanks everybody for your time again, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.